First, let's bring in Fox 9 political correspondent, also founder, CEO of Fluence Media, Blois Olson. Thanks for joining us here, Blois. I wish we had something to talk about today, though.
Slow news day, Amy.
Yeah, it's a Friday news dump happening earlier than usual. But tell us, I guess, first and foremost, I'm curious about your reaction to the Supreme Court overturning President Trump's sweeping global tariffs.
Well, I mean, I think it's another curveball of chaos that the American consumers and businesses are going to have to deal with. I'm not shocked by the Supreme Court's decision. I think the fascinating thing is how the American public just doesn't know what to expect from the Supreme Court anymore. Every ruling seems consequential. And this one, the president just said he's going to reinstitute tariffs a different way. But that doesn't make it easy to understand it for manufacturers, for folks who have to deal with shipping and imports and exports. And so I think it's just another day of angst on a Friday for those businesses.
So there's a lot of different angles I want to ask you about. I think, one, really, I think the consumer angle is one most people are thinking about right now. So when he says layering on another 10% globally, what is he talking about there? What does that mean, Blois? Or is that your point? We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know how it's going to be put into effect. We don't know how it's going to be rolled out. We don't know which countries it's going to apply to. The thing to think about is what's next, Amy. And really what's next is that he's already started to lose some Republicans in Congress on his tariff strategy. If he loses more, which I think every day, every week, every month we get closer to the midterms, they're going to realize that there's a lot of unpopularity that he has. And that they will leave him. So I think the next move in this chess game is from Congress. He has his State of the Union next week. So stay tuned, I guess, is the best way to think about this tariff debate.
Yeah, some harsh words, too, for the justices who voted against him. I don't know that we've heard a president use those words before, disgrace to our nation, fools and lapdogs. It was pretty heavy stuff.
But think about that as the outlier, right? I mean, nobody would call this a liberal court. In fact, most Americans think it's a conservative court. Most liberals think the court is too conservative. This is really about executive branch power and whether or not we're going to protect the balance of power between the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. And I think that's one of the dynamics at play here.
All right, with the time we have left, and Amber's going to let us know when she needs to get the cane out and pull us off the stage here. We're going to talk a little bit about the legislative session that got underway, not a full week this week because of the holiday, but 4 days in, and we were just showing, and we will be on our program because a lot of these hearings are taking place during our show. A lot of these hearings that are happening involving, ICE and the fallout from Operation Metro Surge. Let's talk about, maybe if I had to pull 3 different topics here, let's talk about that, and starting with some of the ICE-related hearings and the money that, for instance, a group of, I think it's 20 mayors across Minnesota are asking for funding. We know Minneapolis is going to be asking the legislature for funding to help recover some of that. How is that going to go over?
Well, I think the real question is, do we have the money? 1 week from today, we'll have our budget forecast for the state of Minnesota. That will show where we were at. We are over in our January collections, but February collections, I think, will be low. I think that it's going to be hard for any significant financial help to come from the legislature. It's not a budget year. I think folks are feeling that there's a squeeze on the economy and tax revenue. The future budget numbers do not look good, especially with federal cuts well before Operation Metro Surge. So I think there's going to be a lot of asks and very few answers when it comes to financial or economic support. I do know that I think there's probably some tax relief, some expense relief, maybe even some regulatory relief that businesses impacted would like to see. But as far as, I think, cities getting reimbursement for law enforcement, school districts, I think it's going to be tough. One thing for school districts is I think they'll waive the rule of attendance to get funding for students. But other than that, I think it's hard to gather up enough funds to really make an impact.
Okay, just one I wanted to spend a quick second on here that got a little bit of traction was residential protesting. What was this about and what ended up happening?
There's a bill to ban protests outside public officials' homes. Democrats seem to oppose it. It's a Republican bill, but in this climate, for years, that's been unpopular, at least with, regular people. And so banning it or making it a misdemeanor would seem to be common sense. There's always shiny objects over at the legislature. I'd put this in the shiny object bucket for now.
Yeah, definitely. But they're kind of fun to talk about, right?
Oh no, that's why they're called shiny objects.
Yeah,
Amy.
yeah. That's it. Well, it was, getting some traction for that reason. Finally, fraud. Clearly, we're going to see all kinds of movement proposals on that. One is to create a new oversight office for state government agencies. I haven't been able to keep track of all of the headlines around this. So, is it Republican backed? Is it Democrats? And what's happening with that so far?
The Senate passed a Office of Inspector General bill last year overwhelmingly. Democrats tried to revise that yesterday. It didn't go anywhere. But what to watch here is Democrats are finally leaning in to recognize fraud as an issue. We've been talking about it, and notice that it's after Governor Walz is not running. I think that shows that the party feels and members of the legislature feel they have to strike out with their own voice on that issue. Yeah,
that was interesting to see. I can't remember the name of the Democrat, but spent quite a bit of time leaning in.
Matt Norris.
Yeah, to Governor Walz. So him not being in the race will be make it even, I think, more interesting. Thank you for checking in with us, and very timely to get your reaction on all of this stuff. We appreciate it. Take care. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Okay. Bye.